That's fine. But I think one thing has really precipitated out of these injuries that you see some kids improving, like Crawley. He has improved his play. You see the emergence of Michael Thomas, who is now our leading wide receiver on the team. Brandon Cooks has been a mystery, in my opinion, these past couple of games as well. Hopefully we can see him re-emerge as a prominent figure in our wide receiving core. So we do have a couple of guys that have really, you can see some positives on the defensive side in our additions with Moore as well as Webb. There's still a little bit more improvement that has to be done. I think the changes in the linebacking core were interesting at first, but Stupor kind of did a pretty good job when I replayed some of the tape on his play against the Chargers. Laurinaitis, I know he returned from injury this week, and we're still not sure what's going to really happen with him. So, I mean, and the Stephon Anthony case is just bewildering what's happening with this young man. You know, if you listen to what Dennis Allen and Sean Payton was saying about his play and him not being able to understand the directions or the goals that they have for him. And then you heard a few weeks ago Bobby Hebert really calling him unflattering, like really saying he's not a very smart player. And it's really just strange. Go ahead.
Can I ask y'all a question? When they drafted him, you didn't check his football intelligence?
IQ, right?
Him?
Right.
Don't do this to this brother like that. Don't do it. What you've done, you've destroyed this young man, because I'm not seeing Laurinaitis light up the field.
Exactly.
I'm not seeing that at all.
Not Kruger as well.
I'm not trying to defend Stephon Anthony, but I am going to defend him since I mentor young men. You, Sean Payton, and Dennis Allen have destroyed this young man's confidence. You have done this. Of course his confidence and his ability now is jittery and nervous. You've done this. Because you just can't make an assumption that I'm going to switch a position that this man has played most of his life, and then he's just going to be able to make this adjustment. It's the same thing they've done with Andrew Speed. You are messing up these young players. You. And so the confidence for Stephon Anthony, it probably is gone. I'm sure he is having a hard time. Now, every little thing he does is scrutinized by people and in the news and in the sports area and everything. And to have a 21 or 22-year-old to go through this, they're not as, that would be the same way if somebody came to me trying to talk about Brandon. No, you're not about to talk about him. You don't, this is not how you mentor and coach. And I understand coaching, you have to be tough. I want you this. I keep telling people this. This is the problem with the NFL. The generation, Remy, Kyle, the three of us came up with, when we were 20-something years old ago, 20-something, 29 years ago, it's totally different from Brendan's generation. And when you have coaches that are in their late 50s and 60s or 70s trying to relate to 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25-year men, it's not going to work if you don't know how to bridge the generational gap. And it does not work in this environment the way things are now, that maybe let me get some input from my player. This is not Adolf Hitler where you just dictate. Sometimes coaches need to talk to their players and say, what do you feel? What's the best position so I can make it a win-win for you? And listen, I'm not saying I don't know Coach Payton and them have done this or not. I'm just talking in terms of how you work with younger generations. And sometimes we as older men, we don't allow the younger generations to explain, this might work best for me, Coach, or this might work best for me, Kyle or Remy or Professor. And this is where I think what has happened. And if the Saints are not careful, I'm telling you, because I've watched them kind of do this with Andrew Speed. they're going to destroy both of their number one draft picks. And then all the people are going to be writing and dogging out Andrew Steve and Stephon Anthony. Some of this stuff with the Saints number ones, and I said this for years, this is not all these players. You cannot tell me all these players cannot play. They don't have the talent. Year in and year out, the Saints keep having these problems with these draft picks. Some of this stuff is the coaching staff and Sean Payton.
Yeah. You know, Nick Underhill, for The Advocate, he wrote a couple of pieces, and he was saying on last week that he wrote over the past year that Stephon Anthony wasn't making any progress in his play. The kid had over 100 and 13 tackles last season, led the team. He really took on the leadership role that was thrusted upon him in mini camps and everything as the starting middle linebacker for the New Orleans Saints. I think he did an adequate job, and you know, over the season they decided to bring in Laurinaitis. What do you do with a kid like that? Like you said, Professor, a young kid, you got to look at how this is going to really affect his confidence, and to be able to say, hey, switch, play a different position that you're unfamiliar with, but hey, just do it anyway. And now we are going to the media, and in the media, we really are planting more seeds of doubt. That has to really be something to pay attention to in the near future. Okay, Rem, any thoughts on anything we've said? What's your perspective, Doc?
Well, I agree with everything you guys have said. I kind of have a problem with this generation of players as far as how you can't talk to them. I mean, you know, toughen up. You're playing a football game. Be a man. But but the thing, as y'all were talking earlier about some of the other issues with the players and this being a rebuilding year, another thing that was going through my mind is that it's also a year we're trying to get rid of that dead money. I think we have the highest level of dead money in the league, if not the highest, one of the highest.
No, it is the highest.
That is something that I also believe is kind of hindering us. We're not able to keep good players because we don't have the money to pay them, or we can't bring in really effective players because we don't have the money to pay them. And so, you know, in spite of the other thing with the players being young, we're not able to. We don't have the money available to bring in the guys that we need to bring in.
I'm just going to say something. I've listened to Deke Bellavia say this a few times over the past couple of weeks when somebody has probably made that comment. And I'm not defending Deke on this, but Deke said something that kind of you've got to say, all right, this makes sense. He said, well, if you go with the argument that the Saints are money strapped, tell me what player that was out there on the market that they haven't been able to try to get.
Well,
because it seems to us, especially over the past couple of seasons, when they've been saying they're money strapped, they signed Jairus Byrd, they signed these other guys, they signed Kruger to this contract. I'm thinking, where did you find that money? Where did you find the money to get Fleener as well? You know, so maybe it's not.
That's
maybe
the
it's
money
not.
I'm talking about, like the Jairus Byrd money is some of the money I'm talking about. Even though now he's playing for 2 seasons, that was money that was just sitting there paying a guy that wasn't even on the field.
Right, and here's my point. Here's my point. If you find money to pay this guy, and that guy and another guy, maybe you're going after the wrong guys. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's crippling them. Maybe it's their talent evaluation and deciding who to really pursue is really the problem. And another problem, like you said, Professor, and the coaching.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all, Kyle.
Right.
Well, the point I'm making is that because we have these guys, or we've been paying these guys, now we can't go after other guys. to
Okay.
put in those spots who can play. That's all. I'm actually agreeing with what you're saying. Those
A lot
were
of
attempts to fill those positions, but
And a
now
lot
that
of
you're not doing it, it's just dead money.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that dead money, Remy, though, is not with the active players. That's tied in with the Jimmy Grahams, Junior Gillette, even Jari Evans coming back, Marcus Colston. The Saints are paying a lot of people that are not on the team that have impacted them. It ain't even so much Jarvis Bird. You're still paying Keenan Lewis. A lot of this money has been tied, unfortunately, and I'm just gonna put on my comment. It's been bad negotiations of contracts, because even if these people have given you a problem off the field or something you didn't like about them, you needed to find a way. Well, guess what? We're gonna get something out of you, because I'm not just gonna be paying you to be sitting at home. And like Kyle stated, to his point, they found money for Kruger, they found money for Ferry, they found money for Fleener. They found money when they brought Ellerby in here. So they found ways to get money in some ways. But unfortunately, and this is something I always tell Kyle, most of your free agent transactions, when these players are switching teams, is not working out too great. Not just with the Saints. These players don't look the same, because what many people miss, a lot of people's success is the system they're in. That's why when you saw Lance Moore leave, his career kind of ended. Reggie Bush had a little success. Now he's out the league.
No, he's still in the league. He's playing for the Bills. He's still playing for the Bills.
I thought he was out injured, but he's not the same player.
He's not. No.
Scott Fajita, and a lot of your success is the system that you are in. And when you leave that system, now Darren Sproles and Malcolm Jenkins, they continued. And that's what Kyle was saying. Your evaluation of talent to let those two go was not warranted. Malcolm Jenkins struggled in New Orleans, unfortunately, because of, Roman Harper's struggle in the passing game. Malcolm Jenkins was only 20 years old when the Saints drafted him, and he was improving year over year. All you have to do is go back to the 2013 season when the Saints defense was ranked number 4. There was no way, if my defense finished number 4, I'm going to mess up that defense. Only person you really had lost because Jabari Greer went out with that injury and probably was going to retire. And so they shook up that defense with all of that. And then now you see all of this juggling year in and year out. You bring in 2, let 2 go, bring in this. And unfortunately, it's not working. So what they've done that may help them, that's why I say next year, you get Damian Swan back, P.J. Williams back, you got Sheldon Rankins, Tyler Davison, and all of the Stephon Anthony. Hopefully things can turn around for him. Then you have now a bunch of defensive players that have played together going on 3 years, and that will give them an opportunity to possibly improve.
Okay. All right, guys. Okay. So I guess everybody's pretty cool on what's going on with the Saints, and we feel pretty confident that the Saints can possibly win this game on Sunday. I want to kind of change directions a little bit. Let's talk about something that's really been eating at me, is the fact that we have our team in the throes of a cultural change, so to speak, that's going on in America. And we haven't talked about this. Remy, I wanted to get your perspective as well as Brendan, and possibly you, Brendan, first, because I know you have to get back to classes, studying for everything. This Colin Kaepernick is about to start. He's going to start for the 49ers. They sat him on the bench. They've seen their season kind of go by the wayside a little bit under Blaine Gabbert. But this protest, which has been a peaceful protest, and you've seen it grow through the ranks of not only the NFL but other sports figures. You've had a singer singing the national anthem the other night on her knee, protesting. And you have